for me, when I think about technology in the classroom, I think about taking as many things that are viable to use. So any methods, any devices, any hardware, any software, and trying to implement them as much as possible because every kid learns differently. So I'm a true believer in giving the kids choices in what they use. Chromebooks, phones, laptops, iPads. I think that allows for a greater differentiation in education. So some kids might want to watch a recording in class and take notes, but some other kids that might not work for their brain. They'd rather do that at home. So maybe in class, they'd rather work on a project or an assignment or something like that. The number one thing that I think is great in today's classroom is the ability to screencast. And there's so many different softwares that allow that now. One of the easiest ones to use is Loom, Loom, because there's actually a Google extension. So you can screencast anything at any time. So let's say you teach government for 2 different blocks in a day. You do a quick screencast, 5-10 minutes, and you can cover a topic. You can post it on Canvas, and that way the first class can actually have access to that as well. So I think the ability to screencast whatever you use is phenomenal. I was lucky and part of a pilot for Charleston County School District. We used Cisco equipment and then WebEx software to have a camera in my home classroom with our kids in front of us. And then we had big screens all over the room. It's as close to being in the same room as possible. But those Cisco products, I wish we had the money to buy them for everybody because it makes hybrid education so much easier. Hardware, using cameras, using microphones, man, that makes things so much better. A couple software things I wanted to make sure I mentioned. I love using Pear Deck. It makes what you and I think of as a traditional lecture way more interactive. It allows you to stop and ask questions of kids. It allows you to, okay, hey, now you take this and you can, draw what you think or type what you think or whatever. So I really like Pear Deck. Are you familiar with what Google has done with virtual tours, Google Arts and Culture? Oh, you're going to love it. You got to Google this. So they started with museums. They have pretty much recorded virtual tours in museums throughout the world. And then they have really expanded. They have a really cool historical events section, and each of them have X amount of items. Like World War II has 16,000 items that you can look at. So All Sides is fantastic. I absolutely love that website. It'll take a story and they'll give you resources from the left, the center, and the right. It's so important to learn how to effectively use Google Apps in the classroom. Like, they're so useful. But now, heck, they can all be on the same document, whether it be slides or a spreadsheet or a doc. So using that in education is fantastic. And I can go on for days. Some more might come up, but those are some of my favorite things that I use. But also discussion boards are great. Sometimes in Canvas has, discussion boards implemented already. Kids are more comfortable with typing stuff to each other than they are actual talking. So I see there's nothing wrong with that. So I try to bring in multiple methods just to hit all kids in all areas. So I think if we don't use technology in digital classrooms, we're not doing our job. Because anything digital used in the classroom is going to get the kids ready for the real world. Because technology allows for easier grouping. It allows for kids to have to research themselves, delineate what's true versus what's false, what's a good source, what's a bad source. All of those things, technology is really powerful for. So important to allow the teachers to become comfortable with technology and not just throw it at them and assume they can just use it. Because the same technology, let's say the same software, you might use it differently than I do. I mean, it could be subject specific too, like you're going to use something differently in government than you are in, algebra. But this is a tough topic. I mean, it's good and technology is important, but once you start talking about it, you realize there's so many different branches that there's not a one size fits all answer, which I guess that's life. So I always say grab onto one thing that you think might be able to, effectively be used in your class and roll with that. But you got to immerse yourself in it and understand how that can be used.